December. A very good afternoon to you all out there, listener. We are back, we are back, we are back. We do sincerely apologize for the break in transmission of this program. We had to take a short break, and that break is over. And that is why your favorite program, your one-stop shop for everything mining on the Plateau, is back on air on Radio Nigeria Highland 101.5 FM. Just so once again, we are back. So listeners, you're welcome to today's edition of this radio engagement brought to you by Ziva Community Initiative. And the program project is the role of artisanal and small-scale miners, ASM, in energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria. And this program is supported by the African Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. Today, we shall be focusing on the essential yet often overlooked topic: health and safety in artisanal and small-scale mining, ASM. As we all know, ASM is an essential lifeline for millions, not only in Nigeria or Plateau, but globally. But it comes with significant risks and costs. In this episode, we shall explore the common health and safety risks miners face, discuss ways to address these concerns, and highlight best practices and the role of governments and the NGO, that's non-governmental organizations, in improving safety standards. So, joining us on the program, I have a very wonderful and erudite guest to do justice to our topic of discuss today, and he is Professor Hyeladi Usman Dibal from the Department of Geology, University of Jos, a health and safety consultant in the mining sector. So stay tuned for his important contribution on this program. We shall take a short break, and when we return, the program will kickstart in earnest. Once again, this is Radio Nigeria, Highland 101.5 FM Jos, and my name is Stephen Eagle. Do stay with us. We'll come back after the break, sir. All right. I forgot to tell you. All right, listener, if you're just joining us, this is Radio Nigeria, Highland 101.5 FM Jos, and my name is Stephen Eagle, and you are welcome to the Ziva Community Initiative radio engagement on the project, the role of the artisanal and small scale miners ASM in energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria. We took a short break, but the program is back on air. So you don't have to feel left out or feel that you are missing out on your daily tonic, or rather your weekly tonic, on information as regards ASM on the Plateau. All right, my guest in the studio is Professor Hyeladi Usman Dibal, Department of Geology, University of Jos. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you, Prof.
Thank you very
From
much.
my alma mater. You're welcome. I really look forward to our discuss of the program today. All right, listener, our topic of discuss today is an overlooked topic, which is the health and safety in artisanal and small scale mining. Health and safety in artisanal and small scale mining. So, on this episode, we shall explore the common health safety risks miners face, discuss ways to address these concerns, and highlight best practices and the role of governments and NGOs in improving safety standards. All right, let's get the ball rolling. But before then, listener, you can be part of the program much later on when we open our phone lines for you to call in, be part of the discussion by asking my guests a question or two, or contribute, or whatever you have to say, or as regards our topic of discuss today. So the program will be split into two segments: the interview segment and the phone-in segment, where you get to call in and be part of the program. So after the break, we shall get to that part. But for now is the interview segment, where my guest, Prof, will be responding to one or two questions. All right, to get the ball rolling, ASM, as we all know, operates in the informal setting with limited regulation. Could you describe the most common health risks miners face, such as exposure to hazardous substances or physical injuries, and what are the long-term health impacts of working in ASM, such as silicosis or mercury poisoning?
Okay, there are different health issues that may arise as a result of artisanal mining, depending on what you are mining. Some people are engaged in mining rocks. Some people are engaged in mining different types of minerals. Now, each and every one of these substances may be hazardous to the health of the artisanal miners. You have already mentioned silicosis.
Yes.
Silicosis comes as a result of exposure to dust.
Okay.
When you are constantly exposed to dust that comes from the mining activities, these dust, first of all, may penetrate through your skin or through your nose. This is the common areas that these substances can get to our organs. So if they get, through our nose, they get into our lungs and they affect the lung. So this is dust. Also, there are minerals that are radioactive, and radioactive minerals, emit a kind of rays, and these rays can get into, or in fact, it penetrates into our skin, and they target some organs. And like you said, the long-term effects of those kind of radioactive elements may result into different types of cancers. So this is very, very important for us to know, for those people that are engaged in artisanal mining. On the Plateau, for example, we have found out that there are minerals we call as zircons, or minerals that we call as thorites. Now, these are radioactive elements, and they are common in the sands of the materials that is being removed from the pits, and they emit this kind of X-rays, and they get to our organs.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. What about physical injuries?
Yeah, there are physical injuries. For example, there are explosions. Explosion can take place within the pits. You understand? Now, even inside the pit there are some gases that explodes, and when they explode, you can be so sure that people that are there may be affected physically. So that is one. Then sometimes the tools that you are using, tools can easily fall, and if they are big tools, if they, assuming it falls on somebody's head, you can be so sure that the head will be broken. And these are the kind of things. And then rock falls within the pit also, or collapse, or what we call as caving. So it may lead to back injuries, sometimes your spinal cord, because of the heavy load that comes down. If you are, let's say, bent down inside the pit, and those kind of heavy materials fall on you, they may affect the spinal cord. So these are the kind of physical injuries miners may be subjected to.
So beyond physical injuries,
Yeah.
the severe casualties, death could be one.
Exactly. We have recorded so many deaths. I can tell you that we did some work for some people sometimes last year, and we went to a village, I think, just around Vom, and they took us to a place that collapsed with one young man inside. In fact, they didn't remove his body; they just allowed him there. He died inside the pit, and we have recorded so many injuries like that, so many deaths in this pit, so many.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, still on this question, you did mention when you were talking about silicosis due to mining activities. Not just on the site, there are mining activities that take place in some structures, the tin sheds. Can you still come down with such cancers while operating in the tin sheds?
Yeah, you can come down with those kinds of cancers. Let me give an example. We carried out a walk in some of these tin sheds, and we analyzed some elements like lead, like cadmium, like chromium, and the rest. These are some of the elements that affect our health. And we found out that in almost all the tin sheds, lead are very, very high. And lead targets the nervous system. It affects the brain. So if there are no, and we found out actually that these people are not wearing any covering on their nose. So, they are exposed to that high lead content and then cadmium. If this thing gets too into their body, there are target organs that this element move into, and then they begin to, it will not come in one day. It takes over a long period of time before this effect will be manifested. So the t-shirts, I can assure you that we don't want to mention names of t-shirts that we have visited that have this high lead content in the materials they are exactly processing. So these are some of the things.
All right.
And there are so many of them on the plateau.
I can imagine. All right, Prof. Still on safety. In terms of safety, can you discuss what are the primary causes of these accidents? You did mention mine collapsing and equipment failure. What leads to mine collapsing?
Well,
What are some of the safety issues when we have failure on the part of equipment and the environmental factors?
Well, you see, it depends on the kind of soil that is being mined, or the mineral is being mined from. If these soils are loose, no matter the kind of pillars that you leave around to hold the overburden, they may not be able to hold it. And don't forget that sometimes they intercept what we call as the water table. Now, this water do not only move, let's say, horizontally. Due to capillary force, they move also vertically upward. And once these places have been, let's say, wetted, it's easy for them to collapse. So these are the kind of accidents that these people are subjected to. Yes.
What about poor ventilation, flooding?
Oh, sure. Flooding. Flooding comes
comes as a result of intercepting this groundwater. There's what we call as confined aquifers. Now, these confined aquifers are under pressure. The moment you puncture them, they will just release the water immediately. And once this water is released immediately, before you know it, it will flood the whole pit. And you know, if you are exposed to this kind of situation, confusion takes place. You may not even know where you came in from how when you enter the pit, and before you know it, the whole place is flooded. Then
you drown.
Yeah, you will be drawn inside the pit. Like I said, also we have found situations where the miners carry their machines into the pit and they own it. Now the fumes or this thing that is coming in are also hazardous, and they will be subjected to it before you know it. Carbon monoxide.
Right.
Yes, it affects.
You're making reference to generator sets.
Yeah, generating sets. We have seen this kind of things happening.
For power.
Exactly. No, they are using the machine to pump out water.
Okay.
So sometimes they carry, instead of putting the machine outside
and
they take it inside.
Oh.
Because probably they must have gone horizontally very far, and they need to pump out this water so that they can have access to the mineral that is being mined. So they are exposed to this kind of fumes, and you find out that it affects their health.
Okay.
Sometimes they even die inside. It may not even be from the gas.
Programs or initiatives that have been successfully that have been done that have been successful in reducing accidents and injuries in this sector. If you have any idea of such trainings and initiatives.
Okay, I think I have jotted some things here,
all right,
which I will look at them.
All right.
There is one to create awareness.
Okay.
Yes, for these miners that are mining the materials. So we create awareness. It's very, very important because many of them are not trained miners. So once you create awareness and you tell them that there are risks that you are exposed to, it will guide them, and then they will begin to follow some certain precautions so that they are not exposed to this kind of thing. And then two, the use of personal protective equipment. So these people, they can make one or two things, such as helmet, gloves, mask, goggles, and boots that will help them. Like we said, the mask is to prevent them from inhaling the dust, and then the boots, probably there are some reptiles that are they many times actually people have encountered reptiles in those kind of pits, and so if you have boots and all of those things, and how to use them, you can be assured that you are protected from certain things. And then to know the type of chemicals that are likely to come from these kind of. So there are so many of them. And then personal hygiene also. So these are some of the things or some of the safety training programs in place for the artisanal miners to attend. And I think it's very, very important for them to attend it so that, we will minimize the risk of these kind of things that are happening.
All right, sir.
Yeah.
All right, you've mentioned some of the initiatives and programs and some of the things that are necessary to mitigate such occurrences in the ASM sector. But what are some of the challenges with some of this laudable initiative that you just mentioned.
Yeah,
What are the challenges in the
the
ASM sector for you to get this done?
challenges is one, lack of, let me just say, these people that you want to train may not even want to attend this type of training. They feel that they don't need it.
Okay.
So that's the reason why we said earlier that you have to create awareness. But if you now come in like this and say, okay, let me just put these people into training, they may not want to attend it because they have been used to it. They just take it for granted that, look, I can go into that particular pit and then come out. So, and then lack of education also will make them not to be part of this kind of training. And then we can also say that, can we say, I don't want to mention the word carelessness. We take things for granted, truly, especially in this nation. When government or non-governmental organization say, come for these kind of things, something that is beneficial to your life, we become so careless about it. We don't want to attend such training. So I think these are some of the things.
Okay, when you say careless,
Yeah.
do you also mean, or are you referring to being skeptical? Do you think there is a trust deficit between the people and government when it comes to such programs and initiatives?
Yeah, I think so. Let me
They
just,
don't trust government.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
believe, okay, at the end of the
actually,
day...
let me just
Okay,
give
go
you an
ahead, go
example.
ahead.
Because this sector is informal,
Yes.
they feel that when you say come for this training, you are trying to arrest them. You understand? I don't know.
Yes.
We have visited so many places, and when they see us coming, sometimes they just pack their material and they run away. So these are
Fear, skepticism.
exactly fear, skepticism, and some of those things. So I think that that trust has to be built between the government and then the miners.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. All right, Prof. Before we take a break, having said a lot about safety, do you feel there's adequate access to health services in mining communities? If not, what could be done to improve this situation?
I can be so categorical to you that in most mining communities, you hardly find one health, let's say, building, or let me just say services in those areas. I'm telling you this. I've visited so many communities in Hyeladi, here in Jos, in parts of Bokos, and these people are left on their own. And sometimes we say, look, there are a kind of this thing that you enter into with the people that are mining in your communities. Those people must provide roads for you people. They must provide schools. They must provide health services. But I'm telling you, they don't have those access to these services. So there are no adequate. Let me just be so sincere with you now. None. And even if there are, the basic facilities that may treat, let's say, basic injuries or illnesses, they are not there.
Talk less of the more
sophisticated ones.
Sophisticated ones.
Exactly.
Okay, so what can be done to improve this situation, in your opinion?
Well, I think number one, like you said earlier, the trust between government and the miners should be built. One, and then two, let there be a little contribution from the miners themselves. Are you getting me? They can tax themselves and they say, okay, let's make contribution from what we are getting to provide these services to the communities. And then the government also should try as much as possible. We know that these are unregulated activities, But if we lose our citizens, it affects also the economy, because whether you like it or not, if the government is not getting anything from them, the things that they are getting from the mining is actually sustaining them. So government should come in and then provide these services into these communities.
Okay. Thank you very much. There's
Thanks.
something that we always say on this program is like one of our mantras, talking about cooperative, getting the miners
Exactly.
into
They can form a cooperative.
Because when you mentioned coming together to put funds together
Yeah.
to establish or to equip some of these health facilities, that will go a long way for them coming into or becoming or forming cooperatives.
Exactly.
to get this done.
Exactly.
Secondly, one of my guests on the program did mention that it's going to be difficult to provide healthcare services for miners because they are like gypsies. They
move from
place to place. So if you establish one here,
Exactly.
after
Tomorrow they are
gone. So
yeah, but we can have a central place for them. We actually do know that they behave like pastoralists.
yes,
They move from place to place. Once they get a
they've
mineral somewhere,
exhausted.
they will just move.
Yes. Mm.
They exhaust this one, they just move. But if we have, let's say, health services that are meant for this kind of issues, I think, let's say we can establish one central health service in a particular place that if there are injuries, we just take them directly to that
Yes.
area.
All right, thank you very much. All right, listener, at this particular point in time, we shall take a break. And if you just joined us, this is Radio Nigeria Highland 101.5 FM in Jos. And this is the Ziva Community Initiative Radio Engagement. And the project is the role of artisanal and small-scale miners, ASM, in energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria. And my guest on the program is Professor Hyeladi Usman Dibal from the Department of Geology, University of Jos. We shall be taking a break, and when we return, our phone lines will be made available for you to partake or be part of the program via calls and for you to ask my good professor here a question or two, or to partake or just contribute whatever you have on this topic of ours, that's the health and safety of ASMs in the mining sector. So we shall take a break. When we return, our phone lines will be made available for you to join in. Stay with us. Well done, sir. So we have how many more questions? 3. Okay. Patience is there, right? Okay. So that when the call, she just put the phone up to the microphone. All right. Okay, ready to go back in, sir? Okay, let's go back in. Radio Nigeria Highland 101.5 FM Jos. Listener, you are welcome back, and if you are just joining us, this is the Ziva Community Initiative Radio Engagement Program, and the project is the role of artisanal and small-scale miners, ASM, in energy transition and climate change mitigation in Nigeria. And our topic of discuss today on the program is health and safety in artisanal and small-scale mining, ASM. My guest in the studio is Professor Hyeladi Usman Dibal from the Department of Geology, University of Jos. And my name is Stephen Eagle, and this is the second segment of the program where you get to be part of the program. You can call us and make your contributions on the program or ask a question. And the number to call is 070-3563-2789. The number to call to be part of the program, 070-3563-2789. That's the number to call if you want to be part of the program and ask Professor one or two questions or make your contributions on our topic, health and safety in artisanal and small scale mining ASM. All right, we have been discussing safety measures, preventions, risk factors. All right, Prof, while we wait for the calls to come in, what role do partnerships between mining communities, private companies, and government agencies play in promoting best practices?
The partnership
Yes.
that promotes best practices. The government can bring in, let's say, some rules and regulations that will guide these artisanal mining in every community. You know, it is the government that can actually bring in these rules and then enforce them. And once there is an enforcement of the rules and regulation for these miners, then some of those risks will be highly minimized. The NGOs like you people can create awareness and provide some of these protective material for these miners. The truth actually about it is that these people get money when they sell this material, but they will prefer something that is free. Something that is given to them free rather than for them to use their money to go and then buy it. So the NGOs can actually help in creating awareness for safety in the mining communities. And then the miners also should, in most cases, try to come together also and or make themselves open to government and then to the non-governmental organization for training and some other things that may be beneficial to them.
Okay. So we cannot overemphasize the importance of this partnership. Everybody must come to the table,
Exactly.
and everybody must be open, like you said,
Yes.
for improvement and for development to enhance and best practices
Yes.
in that sector. All right,
Exactly.
thank you very much for your response. In your opinion,
Yes.
what simple changes or tools could make the biggest difference in safety for ASM miners, and are there traditional methods of community-driven practices that have proven effective in reducing such risks?
Oh, sure. I have so many of them community-driven. Yeah, we have community safety, groups of local miners and community members monitoring safety, enforcing rules, and addressing hazards collectively.
Those are traditional
Yeah,
methods.
those are traditional.
Methods.
Then we have
Community-driven.
shared resources and tools. Instead of people to own their own tools, they can come together and say, okay, let's contribute and get this tool so that we can work with it. And then we have rotational work schedules. It is not, every member of the community that will participate, carrying out the mining at the same time. There should be shift. Let's say, okay, these people will come in the morning, and then by afternoon they will go back, and then some other people will come in the afternoon till evening, and there are so many of them. Then we have local knowledge sharing. This, we can share knowledge locally on some of these risks that occur within our community
to prevent them from happening.
Exactly. Then we can form women and youth group. Also, don't forget that at the these things women are actually at the core of this. Because assuming a married woman lose her husband during the mining activities, you find out that at the end of the day, she will be left alone to take care of the children. And then you have this, let me tell you this. There was a work we carried out in a place called Kurujenta. And when we went there, we saw children between the age of, let's say, 11, 12, 10, and all of this. Now, instead of them to be in school, they are there in the mining sites. Do you get it? Now, you find out that whatever hazards, and I can tell you that right there and then, we have seen people that were smoking Indian hemp. Those children, were looking at them. There is just no how that tomorrow, because naturally he will just think that those things are common, exactly, and they are natural. So if tomorrow he gets these things handy, he will begin to smoke them. So let's form this. Women should come together, youth should come together, and then form groups so that they will also create awareness among themselves. And I feel that there are other things there which I still have them here. I've already talked about this child labor thing and all of this, and then environmental safeguarding, and then community-driven monitoring of chemical use. These are some of the things that we can put into place to minimize, the health risks.
All right, thank you very much, Professor.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's Professor Hyeladi Usman Dibal from the Department of Geology, University of Jos, and he's been speaking on health and safety issues as regards the ASM. The number to call if you want to be part of the program or ask him a question or two is 070-3563-2789. That's 070-3563-2789. Call in and be part of the program. To be part of the program and make your contributions as regards our topic, which is the health and safety in artisanal and small scale mining. What are health and safety tips that you can give the listener out there that's probably into the ASM or is an ASM himself or herself, that can prevent some of these risk factors that we just talked about? We talked about some of the risks such as silicosis or mercury poisoning, physical injuries, even death itself, as a fatal casualty of some of the fatalities that can be attributed to ASM. All right, like I said, the number to call is 070-3563-2789. I take it again, 070-3563-2789. All right, we still wait for the calls to come in. What current policies, if any, are there or regulations in place to ensure the safety of ASM workers in Nigeria? Are they effective, if they are any at all? And how can government strengthen enforcement of safety standards in ASMs without disrupting their activities and affecting their livelihoods?
Yeah, there are several policy issues in place. And regulation provided by the government. Okay, the formalization of the ASM to bring about informal operations under legal framework.
Yes, okay.
So that is a policy that has been given by the government. Let all of these things be brought under a formal these things, so that we can now say that it is no longer unregulated. It should be formal. These people has to go and register. It's a policy that the government has provided, and then also there is a policy on health and safety laws, where enforcing regulation for safe practices protective equipment and risk management should be in place for every mining activity. And then there are capacity building and then training for this for these miners, whereby most of them should actually undergo formal education to be able to participate in these mining activities. And then we have access to equipment. Protective gear should be in place, then improved tools. We don't want miners to use, outdated tools. There are actually tools that have been provided nowadays. The problem there is actually money to be able to buy them. But like I said earlier, even if they have this money, they would prefer to use that money for something different rather than for them to go and actually purchase these these tools. And then we have community health program in place, whereby communities, like we said earlier, should have access to health services close to them. And then we have environmental management, where rehabilitation of mining sites should be done. Let me give an example. If you look at the artisanal mining using lotto pits, it is actually very difficult to reclaim those areas or rehabilitate those areas than where you have an open cast mining. Yes, because you find out that they will drill this pit vertically, and then they will go horizontally underground. And sometimes they may go even 10, 15 meters horizontally underground. You will see as if the land has not been affected, but underneath it you have tunnels. And this is very, very dangerous. So, if we allow these things to continue like this, and I can assure you that some of the building collapses we have experienced on the plateau were as a result of those buildings,
those tunnels.
Exactly, built on tunnels underground, and they didn't know about it. So it is good that this management should take place, and then also to remediate, because like I said earlier, toxic elements from these materials that is being mined, is released into the environment, where, let's say, you have lead, you may have cadmium and some other things that are released into the soil, released into the water, and unknown to people. We still go there to plant our crops. These crops, for some of those elements that are soluble, they get into the water, and then the plants absorb them. We go on, we remove the plants,
and we consume.
You understand? There was a time we analyzed a carrot somewhere with one of my friends, and we found out that the amount of lead in that carrot was alarming, about 255 parts per million. Now, and if you continue to eat that thing over and over again, there will be accumulation in your body, and before you know it, one of my friends, my present head of department, was discussing with some doctors, and they said that they have recorded alarming rate of cancer diseases in the past, let's say, 5 years than what it used to be. So what we are not saying that these are some of the things that are causing the cancer, but probably they may be contributing
Factors,
to
yeah.
exactly. So and we have this kind of thing is common on the plateau. So these policies are in place that when you mine, you must go back again to reclaim the place and put it back to how you found it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof. These policies, they are very laudable and impressive, and Nigeria is known for having laudable policies. But are they really effective? How effective are they in terms of getting the ASMs to become cooperatives?
Yeah.
So far, how far have they been able to get every ASM?
You see, our problem is enforcement.
Okay.
It is not as if those things are not there, but enforcement has always been our problem. You understand? The people that are supposed to enforce these rules and regulations or laws do not take it seriously. Or sometimes when they go there and they want to enforce it, you know what happens in this country. So people will just draw them by the side and say, "Oh God, please take this." Before you know it, nothing happens. So they are not effective. I'm sorry to say that. They are not.
Okay. All right. I think we have a call coming in. Just before you round up, I think we have a call coming in.
Okay.
Hello. Hello. Yes. Hello. Good afternoon and welcome on the program. Yes. Who is on the call and where are you calling us from? All right, Henrietta. Okay, Henrietta from Hyeladi. Okay, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Henrietta. Make your contribution. Okay. Is that all? Is that your contribution? All right. Thank you very much, Henrietta, for calling in. All right. That is our first call. Henrietta calling in from Hyeladi. And her question is, what is the first aid, or are there any first aid treatment for artisanal miners on site when they get injured? So I guess her problem, sorry, I said problem. Her question is, what is the most common injury what's the most common injury in ASM sites, and what is that first aid that can be given to those ASMs?
Let me just take our question as it is.
Okay.
The first aid, Henrietta, I think that the miners should provide themselves with first aid. That when injuries occur, they should be able to treat it there immediately before they take it to the hospital. But the commonest injury that we face, let's say in the mining sites, injuries as a result of using, let's say, outdated tools. Sometimes the tools may fall into the pit and then it hits somebody. Before you know it, that person is injured. Sometimes as a result of breaking rocks. Those rocks can easily cut somebody, and then you find out that blood will begin to gush out. So if you have things like iodine in place at that particular point, you can just clean it and then apply the iodine, and it will help greatly. So, but like we said, in most cases, when those pits collapse, and it is common, in most cases you will have broken bones, and in that kind of situation you don't treat it there on site. You have to carry the person to the hospital for proper treatment.
Okay.
So I think these are some of the commonest injuries that we encounter in mining sites.
All right, thank you, Prof. All right, listener, time has fast run out on us on today's edition of the program. But before we go, Prof, before you leave the studio, the listener out there what advice would you give the ASM and the community at large in terms of ASM, health, safety, and all?
Well, what the advice I will give to people out there is that as much as possible, people shouldn't just engage in mining without proper training. I think that is all I will say. Training is very important because when you are trained, it minimizes the risk of the health. When you know the kind of materials you are exposed to, even the waters around the mining site, you may not want to drink them. Is that not so? You will want to use protective material, like he said, in the mining shades. Why don't you just put face mask to cover your nose? I think that is the simplest thing you can get. Cover your nose with the, I don't know how much face mask is today, but I think you can just get that face mask and then put it on, and then you are protected from the dust. Another thing also is that if the mining is on a large scale, especially where rocks are being crushed and then dust gets into the air, the mining company should, as much as possible, provide safety materials to the communities. But please, for artisanal miners, be open to training and then subject yourself to the rules and regulation that guide safety in mining.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. All right, listener, in conclusion, it is clear that while ASM, that is artisanal and small scale mining, provides livelihoods for millions, health and safety concerns remain critical challenges. Addressing these challenges requires collaboration between miners, governments, NGOs, and private stakeholders. By adopting best practices, enhancing training, and implementing best practice policies, we can create safer and healthier working environments for miners. So, a big thank you to my guests for your insights. Professor Hyeladi Usman Dibal, Department of Geology, University of Jos. Thank you very much for your insights on the program.
Thank you very much.
And to you, the listener, and my caller, Henrietta from Hyeladi, thank you very much. And the listener out there, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay informed and stay safe. Join us same time next week for another insightful edition of this radio engagement brought to you by Ziva Community Initiative. Thank you. My name is Stephen Ego. To have a swell and safe week ahead. Cheers.